So this tree fell down and was caught by our 275-gallon water holder here, and a tote, and it saved it from falling across my 6-foot tall vinyl fence and the neighbor's fence on the other side. It made a really good dent in our tote, and I haven't taken off the cover to see what kind of damage was there. It's not leaking water, so that's a good thing. Tree here, it fell and it fell right across my roof, but it landed in such a way that it just did some damage up there to the gutter. And it kind of landed in a way with all the limbs on it that that the roof supported it without being damaged. Now the problem was being able to take it down. That was a pretty heavy tree. And so I was able to work on it over time and get the thing taken down a little piece at a time so that it didn't do more damage to the railing there or to my water retention system here. It was very important to save that. It took me 5 days of cutting down trees and pulling it out here and stacking it up here to get this wood out here. And then of course I have the trunks that I have to split and throw up here so that it'll burn. But that's not all. I had all of these trees as well. I'm gonna need to burn both these piles, the one I just showed you and this one here. And I usually burn them by myself. But I think I'll have my son come out and help me just to make sure that we control everything real well. And all those evergreens in the back there on our back property, they had dropped so many limbs, and Vicky was able to come out and do a lot of cleanup work to get that stuff out of the way. It was very helpful. And then my daughter and my granddaughter came out here, and the trees that were dropped out of these big oak trees in our neighbor's yard onto our yard, it took quite a lot of work to get those out of the way as well. My neighbor had some trees in the back. They came, they fell down. I went over there and cut those all up for them so that they could haul them off much easier. Most of the work in our yard is done. Vicky's doing some cleanup here, fall cleanup from leaves dropping. But we had a limb up here, a big limb that cracked, and I can't reach it with my extension ladder, so we'll have to do something about it sometime here soon. Neighbors had a big tree fall across their car. They eventually, after a couple of weeks, were able to get somebody out here to cut it down, save their car. And everybody in the whole county and beyond, in the whole state where there was damage and there was significant tree damage, had limbs like this, trees like this, that had to be dealt with. And there are a bunch of trees here. There are a bunch of trees here, and a little up further, trees up there, and across the road. And you travel anywhere in this county and you're gonna see trees stacked out in front of yards because there was so much damage. So Vicky says this is her report. What are you doing, Vicky?
I'm raking.
Yeah.
Because the tree is very generous with her leaves.
Yes.
And so is the October glory over that way.
Yes. Looking pretty good. It survived.
Can you see the circle?
Yeah, we can see the circle where you raked. So one of the things that I've discovered is that these Leland cypress, which have grown up big, which I planted years and years ago, they don't split easily. And I can't split these with an axe. I have to bring in my maul to split these. So I'm gonna have to cut these again so that they'll be small enough so that they'll split easier. And then so that they will burn. Hard to split. Why save sawdust? Well, I'll show you what I do with my sawdust. Well, let me take my seed pods, my red okra seed pods out of the wagon that I'm saving for next year's crops, and just drying them, getting them good and dry. But I'm also gonna dry my sawdust, and before I put it away, I want this dry. It'll take a few days, 2, 3, 4 days to get all dried. I'll come and mix it up, and then I'll show you what I'm gonna do with it. I put it in these Lowe's buckets and fill them up after it's all dried, or it can be store-bought. You can go to the store and buy this stuff. These Lowe's buckets with lids are easy to take off, and yet they snap on pretty good. And then yes, what we have is a portable toilet, and you can put sawdust in here in the bottom, and when you use it, then you just add more sawdust on top of it. Use it again, put more sawdust on top of it, and it never creates a smell, so long as you keep your liquids and your solids separate from each other. And that's why I save my sawdust. Hurricane Helene was devastating to the coast in Florida, and it came up into North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and just was devastating all the way around. The first band of weather that we had from that fried my wife's computer, and she had to replace that. And then when the real storm hit, after it was moved out a little bit with all the rain that we had, then I came out and surveyed the damage, and that was not fun. The whole place looked like a horrible mess, with trees on the house and falling over toward the fence, and it was just devastating. And so the first 5 days I was on the chainsaw and hauling wood. I had some friends come over a couple of hours for a couple of days, and it helped immensely. But I also damaged my my meniscus in my right knee, and tore it, and went to my chiropractor, or a chiropractor. I've been to several here in the area that are students and friends of mine, and so what happened was my pelvis was rocked up and rotated. I'd been walking like that for a bit, and that put a lot of pressure on my knee. And then I went out and exercised, did 8 laps around McMillan Park, and walking, jogging, and then sprinting, and I felt strange that day in my knee. And then the next day it was worse, and it just kept getting worse, and that was about 3 months ago. And so I've been trying to survive with this torn meniscus and doing exercises, and it has improved immensely just over the last 3 days alone, having gotten a chiropractic adjustment. My pelvis leveled off, took the pressure off that one knee, and then I'm probably going to be working for a number of months trying to rehabilitate that. And but it's doing so much better. But anyway, that's kind of our story for what happened with Helene. And if you go to the internet and watch what's going on in the internet, there is a ton of damage there. And what's so neat is to see how many people came out of the woodwork to help. Our country is just an amazing country, especially in this area when so much damage was going on. So many people lost their homes, their cars, everything they had, and yet people were just flooding in. And my wife Vicki was making meals for the people who are going out on cruise. I had one of our friends, several of our friends, going over to Greenville and being part of a command center, and then sending people out the various places that they needed to go. And she fed, one day she fed 50 people, and was driving from one end of the county to the other end of the county. And there's so much work left to do. It just goes on and on. The devastation, like I said, has just been tremendous. But what's exciting is to see that relative to the things we hear in the news about how terrible things are, and they are terrible, believe me, and I got right away and I voted, first thing I could, I voted for the person I believe is going to help the country the best, and that's what I see happening, is that despite all of the negativity and despite all of the politicking and despite the things that we have to do to make this country turn around, there are loads of people out there that are just wanting and willing to help and do things. It's just been incredible. And so that's part of the legacy we have from Helene. You know, bad things can produce good situations, and that's what we've seen come out of this. Well, I guess my work is not all done. A friend needs some help getting this property cleared from all the trees that have fallen down, and so we have our work cut out for us. How about that? Look at all this. And this is what they're doing to clean up the roadside.